community stronger. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you. We have an opportunity again to shine light on our society, the wonderful people, and to remind us that there is, great need, and there's also a great resource, and there are great people who are continually, showing through their wonderful efforts, the heart and the service that we have. In the studio, I have a lady who is probably as much a fixture of Radio Cayman that the rest of us. So, Ann and Dave and Ann.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Hi. I'm excited for many reasons, despite what we'll assemble to talk about. The fact that this is a society of giving and loving, of a wonderful sense of kindness, and especially this time of year, the fact that we can come together in this century, under this sort of circumstance, in this space, not so much a bubble, but a time of fellowship, a time of love, and a strong community. Perhaps with deference to ladies first, Dave, we go to you, man. Could we say just a quick introduction, and then we set the stage for what we want, because God's willing, when this thing unfolds, I would like to be there in person, but we'll see. It's a Monday night, so we'll get there.
You definitely invite us, Sterling.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hello, Radio Cayman listeners. My name is Dave Hennessy, here today with my wife, Andrea Watler. So today we are here to talk about baby Gia sailor Marie Delaney. She is a baby. She was born 3 months premature of our friends Mike Delaney and Roshane Jackson are the parents. She was born less than 1.5 pounds in weight. She had to be air ambulanced up to Miami, and she remains in NICU for the next couple of months. The doctors diagnosed her with chronic lung disease. She's been on a ventilator since the day she's been born. We are here today to ask anybody to please donate to their GoFundMe page. You can log on to Fidel Murphy's, and on that you will find a link to our fundraiser that we'll be holding at Fidel Murphy's on the 21st of December. We'll have a trivia starting at 7 p.m, followed by live music as well by myself and the legendary Matt Steamson. There'll be lots of prizes on the night, lots of fun. It is 4 nights before Christmas, so I hope everybody will come out. It's going to be a lovely festive time, a time for giving, and a lot of fun is going to be guaranteed.
And I appreciate you just said 4 nights before Christmas, because I was looking at the calendar. I'm trying to figure out 21, 20. Okay, yeah, so I had to count it. Monday the 21st.
That's maths I can do, yeah.
I was having my calculator ready. So, Miss Anne, welcome. Thanks again for both of you.
I'm known as Anne in here, but to a lot of people, Andrea.
Yeah. Gee.
I'm just part of the furniture in here now.
But the better part of the furniture.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is the beauty. And when David said, my wife, I'm like, yeah. It sounds so good. But that commitment to each other and to the community, to show our wider people that even in this time, all that we're experiencing locally, regionally, and globally, that there's still families with great needs, and anybody who sees a child just a little sniffling, just a little on discomfort, we feel bad. But when we hear of this particular circumstance and we realize that, we can rally together to show our support,
of course.
We can pray. But even with the best insurance policy, even with that, there's still some need that is not going to be met by insurance. But
of course,
we don't always have the best insurance policies, right?
Yes.
On top of living in a foreign country that you're not used to as well, that's also added expenses.
And stress,
especially under COVID suppression policies over there. We're very lucky that we can help our friends. We have the time right now that we can put into this, and it's very important to us as parents ourselves. It's something that we feel very close to our heart.
And I keep telling to people, just sorry to interject, that when you can support something and you can do it where there's fellowship, so that as you come together, you're reminded of how important not just your physical support, your spiritual support, your financial support, but you're there in an environment that lends itself, hey, we've got people who are there. They're around us, they're near us, they're connected. And I think that's what made Cayman really, really strong as a society. And this time of year, whether it's a challenge, financial, otherwise, to get gifts because they're not available, even if you have the money, it's the physical assembling of people, it's the demonstration through that.
Which we're lucky to have here in Cayman at this moment. Not a lot of people are able to do that.
Yeah. Now, I think quiz nights in and of themselves, or trivia nights, they're fun. It shows us that we should pay attention to school a little bit more closely, but it reminds us. And the two you're going to be hosting, so to speak?
Well, actually, I've asked my boss, Doug Anderson from Red Sail Sports, and he agreed to host the quiz.
Okay.
And also write up the quiz. So I hope he is getting busy with that, because he doesn't have long left.
Yeah, I'll give him the questions so I know the answers. But it's funny, if you've been to events like that, whether it's part of your PT, whether it's at Fidel's in the past, the little tables and the sort of the hushed silence in a sense, and the talking back and forth. And no, you can't go online and figure out the answer.
No, my answer's right.
And then that camaraderie. But as the evening goes on, you realize how much more, people are coming together.
Yeah.
And as you shared, it's a wonderful cause. It's unfortunate that, we're still having these challenges now, but for the community to support us. So what would you want us to do, Miss Andrea, for the evening? I mean, do we just show up and turn up?
Well, we're also open to more raffle prizes. We're going to have a raffle on the night as well. Okay. And if you know anyone, you can send them our way. We do have a Facebook page set up, which you can access through Phil Murphy's website, or just events now on Facebook. It's so handy. So we have it fundraiser night for baby Gia, a trivia night for baby Gia. So it's very easy to find, or you can access it through Fidel Murphy's. We've also been sponsored by Plantation Rum through Cayman Distributors, so that's a big help as well. And they're going to be helping us with some graphic designs as well, so we can get more things posted on the Facebook event page.
Well, as I listen, I mean, here's a way for the community, and the idea that Christmas, it's about giving and receiving. Many of us, whether we're young at heart or we're just, in our early Christmases, we want to receive something. We like the idea of opening, but here's a way that we can give. If you're looking at a way to do something meaningful.
Of course.
This is it.
And even just today, just log on to that website, onto the GoFundMe page, again through Fidel Murphy's website, and just leave $5, $10, whatever you can. That'll be your one good deed for the day.
Exactly. And for some of us, we'll lose that in the cushions in our sofa. Some of us will, without question. And it's not that it isn't a large sum for some. It's that you're physically, deliberately making the act of contributing. I think that goes a long way. But as you were sharing, Dave, it's a long road ahead.
Very long road, yes.
You can't begin to imagine as a parent what that must feel like.
Of course. Like we said, it's been a very, very tough year on everyone. Yeah. But especially on this family, What a way to start your life, 3 months premature and now diagnosed with chronic lung disease. But fortunately, the doctors have said that lungs can repair themselves within the first 8 years. So we're all staying very positive there. Yeah. But there's massive costs on the parents' part. So any little help that we can give be very much appreciated by them.
Can you imagine not just the financial cost, but as you were sharing, I was just thinking back, as Andrea was reminding us, they're not here. You're disconnected. Yeah, you can get online, you can see your friends and family on this screen, but they're not there to touch, to talk to comfort, to console, to sometimes just stay here for a second, let me go, wash my hands. Because even that alone sometimes can be challenging as a parent. You don't want to leave, You don't leave the side for a second.
I understand. And I would also like to take this opportunity to say a big hello to their son, Nolan, who is actually back in Cayman now, in quarantine. So big hello to you, Nolan. You've been such a good boy the last couple of months, such a brave little big brother. So I want to say that Santa Claus has promised me that he's definitely coming to you and going to be very, very good to you this year.
Amen. You know, but that's it. We fail to realize that there are all these other challenges, you know, the extended family, but the immediate family have to see this, you know, Nolan, as you should reference, just old enough to understand, but still young enough to, you know,
He's
what's going on.
4 years of age. He doesn't really understand, you know.
Mommy and daddy are away, this is happening, but it's not exactly, and yet he's impacted and affected by what goes on, and he comes back and we
he's
go
a grandma and granddad, and
he's away from his parents now for Christmas. So
that sort of support, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll pause and we'll take a short break. We'll try to connect up once we get the phones, and maybe when we return, tell us about Leading some more. You talked about entertainment. We talked about the appeal perhaps for businesses and individuals to donate, you know, other raffle prizes. The notion that it's a quiz night and some of the questions are going to be easy. I mean, like I saw the first one, who's winning the next election? No, that's not on the question. That's not on the question. But it's a time for laughter, for banter, for fellowship. But it's also a time for, you know, prayerful consideration and to show our love and our kindness, you know, towards each other. So when we come back, you share more with us. And for those who are listening, I think the phone lines are available, 949-8037, or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. It's a loving, charitable community. There's great and growing need, unfortunately. But here's a cause that we all can relate to. Here's a cause that we can all contribute. And here's something that we can, you know, through our deliberate actions, show our love. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Kirk Freeport's $40,000 Christmas sweepstakes is back. Spend $100 on your favorite Kirk Freeport store, and you could win one of 3 $5,000 cash prizes or one of 5 $1,000 cash prizes. All purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. There will be the annual Rolex watch prize draw on January 4th and loads of other great prizes. Our small boxes give big surprises and a Christmas full of great prizes. Full details on KirkFreeport.com. Merry Christmas from everyone at Kirk Freeport.
Radio Cayman News.
We can require that everybody coming into the country would need to have a vaccine before they enter.
Last weekend's breach of the quarantine at residence protocols landed 6 people in mandatory quarantine.
There was never any intention to hide this. Finally had a chance to do my due diligence.
But it took a year and more to find out the misunderstanding.
We hope to open the Caribbean's first Hotel Indigo in 2024.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us, and thanks for being a part of, you know, what is truly a blessed community. Miss Andrea Watler, and if I can say, still sounds so good, even though it's been a few years. Her husband, Dave Hennessy. I think it's probably because we say Andrea Watler first. Yeah. But thank you both for showing us that, you know, we're reminded to whom much is given, much is required. And as much as we have here, there's still many people who, you know, they're looking at life perhaps with a lot of expectation, but trepidation as well. And the love that parents have for our children, we can relate and understand. Yeah, man. It's hard to have this conversation with you, even though we know what we're trying to achieve. The fact is that it's a family who's undergoing something, a young child who is now, as Dave said, you know, this is not just the timing that you come into this world, but this is the circumstance under which you enter.
And going into some back history as well. So Dave works at Red Sail Sports, and so does Mike Delaney. So, of course, they've also been affected by the lack of tourism right now, working on the boats. It's been a very tough year, especially for the tourism industry.
Yeah. That's the other thing. It's tough around financially.
Emotionally.
Yeah, I swallowed hard. That's been harder for most of us. I'm glad that as a society, and globally, but here, a lot of our mental health professionals, months ago, Dr. Lockhart came into, on the air with us and shared, we need to be conscious of that impact. Can you imagine that coupled with, medical issues, financial burdens? Potentially, the best of us could get a little frustrated by not being able to provide. I can imagine that weighs heavily on mothers, but I know it does on fathers as well.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, man. All right, I believe we managed to twist the two wires together, tie the other string to the end of the can. We got the phone lines connected. Are we going to the phones, Mr. DJ? All right, let's go to the phone. Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Oh, it's a pleasure to welcome you, and please know that not only the family here really came out, but I'm sure the wider community, you and your family will share are in our thoughts and our prayers.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and Dave and Andrea are phenomenal as friends, but as community stalwarts. So, welcome. Would we be okay to maybe ask of you, and Andrea gave us a brief intro, but would you sort of, for our listeners that are joining, share as much as you're comfortable with about you for people to appreciate? Well, maybe, how do I say this? The best way to say who you for? I mean, if you feel comfortable with that, and the circumstances under which you find yourself now, as you want,
Okay, sure, no problem.
Okay, thanks. And you are now, as Dave said, let's start off first. You've been in Miami how long now?
So we've been in Miami now for just almost 8 weeks.
Wow. That probably could feel like 80 years almost, huh?
It has felt like a year, yeah.
Yeah. And then as it's there, of course you got the hospitalization, but then you're back and forth, you have alternate accommodation. What is it like being there now, especially as Andrea shared, under these circumstances where there are certain restrictions and protocols that are in place, even visiting, or especially visiting healthcare facilities?
It's been a little stressful being here, coming back into a high COVID positive area. It's been a little stressful. We're always very careful, whenever we have to go to the supermarket or even just going to the hospital, of what we touch and making sure we sanitize and wash our hands. And it's taken a bit of a toll on us, mentally, just the stress of it all.
I can imagine, man. And as Dave was sharing earlier, Nolan now is back with his grandparents, your parents, right?
Yes, my parents. Yeah.
And how were they?
We made the decision to send him back to Cayman with my parents because it would have been a little difficult for us to have him here by ourselves when Mike and I both want to be at the hospital with our daughter, Gia. We wouldn't have anyone to watch over him, and he's not allowed to be at the hospital due to COVID restrictions.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us, because I think sometimes we don't realize, as I recall, it was not long ago that I became a father as well. It feels like it was yesterday, but there were restrictions then on the normal circumstances and in the best of conditions where the maternity ward would restrict visitation and limit children. I can only begin to imagine now how much more stringently enforced those policies must be. So for us who are listening, if you both want to be there with Gia, what do you do with Nolan while you're visiting? Wow. Well, at least he's I'm sure your dad in particular enjoys having him, but even take him fishing, right?
Oh yeah, once they're finished their quarantine, the next, hopefully tomorrow would be their last day of quarantine if they test negative. So
or you
fingers
probably
crossed.
take him out, take him on the road, make him do some road work, teach him the ropes, right?
It's been great. Nolan loves being back home. While he was here, he just kept saying, "I want to go back to my blue house. I miss my blue house." So he's very happy to be home. He doesn't miss us, which is good. But it breaks my heart because I miss him so dearly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we both miss him dearly, but he's my boy, so I miss him a lot.
We relate to that.
Mama's boys.
Mamas and sons, man. Yeah, but I think, and this is where, if you, again, be guided by you, but this is where that extended family, those of us who probably sometimes are taken for granted, and I don't say that to be disrespectful, but we have our grandparents there. We have our aunts and uncles. We have our very good friends or, other members of a community. And this is where Cayman is such a wonderful place, especially now, but just in general, where you can be where you are, having to do what you have to do now, but know that, he's in such a loving, nurturing place that not only safe and secure, but, he's content and he can do the things that, makes you know that he is, really, really, really comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. From day one, my family has been such a huge support. From the day I went into labor and from the day we were airlifted to Miami, even now through this whole journey, my family has been such a huge support, and I'm so appreciative for them, and also the community for those who have donated to our cause. Mm-hmm. It really helped. It's helped ease the stress, or one stress of the entire, situation. So we're very thankful for everything that we have.
Well, I don't want to impose on you, take you away, but I want to maybe ask two things. First, is there anything in particular that you would want to either say or ask, the Cayman community that are listening, and chances are, many of us are connected globally. That's the first thing. I mean, anything that in particular, as a parent, and especially in this time, what we're experiencing, sort of having to endure, if we can embrace, and then knowing that we have Christmas, in short order. Is there anything particular you want to say or ask, as you speak directly to our listeners?
I just want to say to everyone to really cherish the ones that you love. Mm-hmm. Anything that experience has taught us is that. Sorry.
No.
Emotional.
I respect that. It's challenging for us here, and I can only imagine more so for you guys, because it's hard, man. But know that you have the love and the support of the community, and I think know that we may not understand exactly what you're experiencing. Chances are we don't, but as parents, we draw alongside as close as we can.
I mean, this year in general has really redefined what's important in life for us. Mm-hmm. As Dave and Andrea said, it's been a tough year for everyone, but we can only speak for our experience. It's been a tough year for us. Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, Mike had back surgery. He ruptured his disc in his back, so that was back in July. He had back surgery. And he was just back to work probably 2 weeks before Gia was born. And with us having to be away for an extended period of time, we decided that it would be best for him to resign from his position, because it's just, we're going to be away for the next probably 2 more months. So decisions we made, and incidentally, my mom was diagnosed with cancer in September, and they were actually up here in the States when I went into labor with Gia, so they were already here when we were air ambulance, so that helped having them here already. But it doesn't really make any of it easier to go through.
Okay. And this is it, it's, and thank you for sharing. I mean, some of us who know you, or and some of us it's maybe you're more familiar with your father or your mom, but we know the family. it's a small community and we know what happens, but there are many of us who, maybe just because of the way life is these days, we don't make the connection. We lose track of the challenges that you face. You as a immediate family have this to contend with. You got your mom, you have the surgery of your husband, you have so much on that it's probably, for many of us, we question how much more can one family, one person sort of endure. And you do it with such grace, you do it with such a sense of love that it shows us, man, that there is strength in a community that rallies around each other. Yeah.
This year has definitely been a testament of patience and love and endurance.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we won't dismiss you, but we don't want to keep you hostage, as it were. So we ask two things, and the other thing we want to for the evening on the 21st. Is there any special appeal or any sort of instructions that you say, hey, if you're attending, you better go there and laugh and have fun? I mean, what do you want to say for those who are coming out on the 21st?
We just ask that you guys, if you are free, if you have the time to pop in and just enjoy some great music by our friends, Dave and Matt, and enjoy some trivia in honor of Gia, and just have a good time, get in the Christmas spirit. I know some of my family members will be there to represent Gia and ourselves. Mm-hmm. So, feel free to say hi and see Nolan, maybe, and enjoy yourselves. Mm-hmm. And have a drink for us and Gia.
Toast the love that is our community, and send up those prayers of healing for you, for your mom, and for Mike as well.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks very much, and you have a connection to the studio, so let us know whatever we can do to help. All right.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay. Well, blessings to you.
Bye, Roshane.
Bye, Roshane.
All right.
Bye.
When we come back from the break, then you heard about the Dave Matthews Band, but did you hear about the Dave Matt Band? So, Dave, maybe you can tell us a little bit more as we continue our discussion. The invitation for the evening itself, but is it going to be a little bit different? What is it going to be like? Give us some insight. And of course, Andrea, for those companies, businesses, individuals who want to donate prizes, be a part of it. Let's show that this is a truly strong, loving, nurturing, caring community that we know it is. I'm going to pause and take a break, but if you have a comment or a question, or you just want to, give some consideration to what we're talking about, well, the phone lines are open. He will tell you himself that he doesn't have the voice of Susan, but Paul Akal is the gentleman answering the phone lines, and he's just as pleasant. I mean, the Radio K-Man team, what we lack in looks, we make up for in love. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
This season, Vigoro is stocking something for everyone in our 2 garden centers. Christmas decorations, succulents, ceramics, blooms, orchids, garden sculptures and accessories, mobiles and garden furniture, water fountains and wall art, and even fairies for the little ones. Make it a Vigoro Christmas with a gift that will be treasured forever. Both garden centers will be open on Christmas Eve till 6 p.m. Merry Christmas from Vigoro.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
By popular demand to serve our valued customers, Puritan Cleaners has revised its schedule for all 3 locations effective immediately. Monday to Saturdays, Eastern Avenue from 7:30 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. Elgin Avenue from 8 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. Savannah Countryside 10 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. Your orders may be transferred to any other Puritan store to suit your working and shopping needs. Let us help you to be ready for those special events coming up. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Hey, I'm so glad you can make it this weekend.
Of course. Wow, this place is amazing. How did you find this?
I found it on Experience Cayman. They have so many staycation ideas.
I'll check it out, but for now, let's hit that pool.
Experience Cayman is a celebration of everything local. To rediscover all the best things to see and do in the Cayman Islands, visit gov.ky/Experience Cayman and follow Experience Cayman on Facebook and Instagram. Brought to you by the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Talk today. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks too. I can't say it enough that this is truly a wonderful place. I'm reminded often, maybe I'll tell you a story. I don't kiss and tell and rarely talk at the school, but things change, you know. Andrea Waller and Dave Hennessy. He says a good drink, you know, Andrea says. Have a little Hennessy now and again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my mom was going to say, you didn't say that, did you? No. But I want people to, as, you know, Shannon said just then, you know, a mom who is, I don't say experiencing, but who now has been tested, you know, her own mother, her husband, you know, her baby girl, and yet to hear the love in her voice, and to hear, you know, the appeal. Listen, I know it's challenging, but go out on that evening and celebrate, be festive, love on your loved ones, and be thankful.
All she's asking is for people to go out and have a good time and share some love. She's not even asking for a donation. You know? We're the ones who are asking you to donate.
And we're asking because we know that it's not only the need, but we also know that it's necessary for, as I say, too much is given, much is required. And, you know, you're blessed so you can be a blessing to others. And
of course,
Dave, as you shared, you know, whether it's $5 or you may have 5 billion, I don't know, that sounds like a lot of money. 5 million isn't much these days, but, you know, hey, for $5 for some people, that's a struggle. We understand that.
Of course.
You know, but you give it in love, and it goes and it's multiplied, and it's a blessing. So on the evening, Miss Andrea, if you would share with us.
Yeah, so we're going to be kicking off the evening around 6 o'clock. So head down after work. We're going to have some live music. We're going to have a cocktail satellite bar set up, which has been generously sponsored by Plantation Rum. And we have our great friend Amy from Cayman Distributors, who will be set up there. And all the proceeds from that bar will be going directly to Gia.
And this is all at Fidel.
This is all happening. We're being hosted.
Queen's Court, right?
Queen's Court Plaza. So it'll be hosted by Fidel Murphy's, who again generously donated their space for the evening. You know, they could be making funds from regular customers, but it's reserved for the trivia night. So please start booking tables. You can book through Fidel Murphy's. You can call them at 949-5189. And all the information's on the event page as well. So make sure you check that out. We're going to be starting to post a bit more now, getting closer to the date.
Well, as you continue to share, I just had a thought, and before it loses, it gets lonely. I can think of social groups. I can think of some of the organizations, the businesses in particular, that may have another sort of Christmas function, but they're sort of social groups with organization. They could make this an evening where they having fun, good fellowship amongst their colleagues and clients, but also a good social cause, part of their continued, sort of good corporate citizenship. Come out that evening, get a table. Is there a maximum number of tables? 5 people per table, 4 people, or is it?
We usually try to go up to 6 because the tables are pretty big in there, so we can do up to 6. We'll also have the beer garden outside, so people who don't want to partake in the quiz can still come out and show their support.
Yeah, it's a good way to come out, and it's Christmas, so bring your organisation out. All right, Dave?
I'd just like to add, it will be $10 per person for the table. So it'll be up to $60 per table if there's 6 people sitting.
All right. He was good at math. He said that.
Yeah.
I have
6 times 10.
6 times 10. Take away 4 and add 6. Gotcha. No, man, no. But this is it. And I think we've seen other evenings where people come together for different. Here is something that, without question, we feel it, know it, understand it, and we come along. So it's Queen's Court, Fidel Murphy's from 6, so straight down after work.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. Head down after work.
All right. What else now? What else we're gonna have? And the questions aren't gonna be too hard. You don't need a calculator.
I believe so. You'll have to ask Mr. Anderson that.
Okay. Quick question, just for clarity. Can I bring maybe the smart friend and he can type in on the device to get answers?
We would like people to leave the devices at home or just maybe in their pockets, please. It's gonna be a fun quiz. It's not gonna be taken too seriously.
You sure?
Oh, of course.
You haven't seen my friends.
Oh, I know.
No, it's all about fun.
Yes, yeah. I know there is a big trivia following on Island. So I understand that
For bragging
they
rights,
they do take things quite seriously, but this night is just going to be about fun and music and friends and family.
And then, as you said, all proceeds would not only help the family, and it doesn't matter whether they need a lot of money or a little. I think what matters in the long run is that's important. But they know there's a sense of community support. They know that their friends, family, and the wider community is rallying together. Sometimes that gives you strength that you can't quantify. Yes, the money helps to the bills and all the other stuff, and that's where I would like us to come out and be a part of it, outside or inside.
I saw that myself firsthand. I got onto Mike and I asked him if it'd be okay if we organised this fundraiser. I definitely would not be able to undertake that on my own. I've never organised anything like this before. So I went to my friend John at Fidel's, who owns Fidel Murphy's. He has obviously been part of many fundraisers. He gave me a lot of very useful points. From there, I've had so many friends, co-workers that have jumped on board to offer help, and it's just amazing to see people coming together for something so important like this.
And that's, I guess, why really came on is without question an invaluable part of our community. But that's why it was so easy for us to donate some airspace. We do it for charities, but this one speaks to us as parents, speaks to us as a community, and it's a good way to test who we are and to sort of give thanks, show our appreciation for where we are in this time. I mean, I joke as much, probably more so than most about politics and the like, but seriousness, we have a lot here that we can and should be thankful for. And if it's $5 or $5 billion, you give it in love, it'll be received in love. If you make a lot of noise and banter about it because you don't, but then it has no value or as much value.
Yeah.
So I love what you guys are doing, man, and the fact that everybody is coming on board. So after work, it's 4 days, you said, from 21-20. So 4 days before Christmas. I got to check in my map.
I was a bit worried when I said that one myself.
I checked
I was going out on a limb there.
Yeah, I checked it on the calendar. It's right, 21st.
Okay.
Monday the 21st. You were close. Well, maybe it's 3.5 days before midnight. So
the 21st of December. Let's just say that.
There it is.
Monday.
Monday
the 21st.
Monday the 21st. And Christmas is usually the 25th. So it's that Monday before Christmas.
Yeah.
We'll get it marked. It's a good way to spend on Monday.
Mark it down in those calendars.
And just come over, and the evening will take you, because there is the reception, the sort of the welcoming. Then there's the quiz. Would it be improper to ask what time you're thinking the quiz might get underway?
We are hoping to get it going at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Can you do like 7:15, 7:18?
Well, if you'd like to come earlier, it's nice if you come in a little earlier.
Time, huh?
No,
Island time?
No, maybe Island time, but not Cayman time.
No, not Cayman time, no.
Well, we've made it that way. My father and people like him, 7 o'clock meant 1:45.
Okay,
and if you're going fishing, just a casual fishing trip, he was pushing off.
Okay, the trivia will be held on Cayman time, 6:45.
I was thinking I could get home and wash my hair and, do my makeup and get out and stuff. I could probably get there by now.
Feel free to come in a bit early. You can have some food as well. We'll have a big menu there at Fidel Murphy's.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been, if you come to visit us.
Yeah, man. And I had a good friend the other evening. For the first time I've had lunch in years. Went across to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, the company, which was exceptional, but he was raving about the food, and I thought, okay, he's just being polite, but it was absolutely fantastic, and it's really good. So it's a good space between the two
fantastic
people out there.
Yeah,
it's a good setting.
Yeah. As Andrea said as well earlier, if you're not interested in the trivia, there's a lot for everyone on the night. Live music, prizes. So if you're not that way inclined, please just come out anyway and support the great cause.
I mean, all of us at least know one friend that knows something or thinks he does, so bring him along. He can be the brain for the evening. We can just...
I've got many friends like that.
No, you had, maybe.
Yeah, I had.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but that's where the fun comes in. So we come out and then the evening take us in. So after the quiz, you can still hang around and fellowship for a bit, knowing that you're supporting something worthwhile.
Yeah.
And then... maybe just ask once more then, for those individuals and companies in particular who would like to donate some raffle prizes, what's the best way that they could go about it?
Well, you can contact me directly on my number, 928-1213, or you can reach out through the Facebook page.
Okay, and we set up,
and I'll make sure to put all my information on there as well, just to say that again and reiterate that.
No, that's important, because I think, we see where every little bit can make a meaningful impact. And
of course, yeah. The more prizes we get donated for the night, the more money we can raise.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
it'd be very much appreciated.
Yeah, and the more of us to contribute, the more of us to take ownership, and the more of us to realize that we have, to be consciously aware and consciously contributing in a very positive, meaningful way. Because it makes our society that much better. We move about the place, and a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend eventually becomes,
a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, man. And everybody needs, another domino partner. You just never know. Well, I thank you both, and thank you for sharing with us. It's been hard. I mean, as Michelle was saying earlier, the emotion is there. I'm expected to be like this, but I feel it. As a parent, you have to feel it.
Of course.
So that's love, man.
Baby Gia, she's getting stronger every day, though.
Amen.
And
she'll be good, man.
Yeah, she's got a long road ahead of her, but she will make it back here to Cayman.
Amen.
We look forward to meeting her in person.
We'll be interviewing her in short order, sitting where you are, Andrea, talking to us and telling us about her plans to run for election and win the presidency. Watch. See it happening, man. She'll be getting her PhD. After she'll be there, right? But thanks. Any closing thoughts, Ms. Andrea, you want to share?
I just want to thank again Fidel Murphy's for hosting us for that night, and thank Plantation Rum and Cayman Distributors for sponsoring that cocktail bar outside. That's going to be a big help. All the proceeds from that go straight to Gia. We'd like to thank some of our sponsors we have going already. We have The Bird and Island Haze and Red Sail that have already donated prizes. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be great. We got some gift certificates, maybe some sales on Red Sail. So it's going to be fun.
It is fun. Mr. Hennessy? Yeah.
Well, that's all I have to say, really.
You can't. I was going to say you can't follow that.
I can't. How can I?
Thanks, man.
Just again, just a big thank you to everyone who has donated so far to the GoFundMe, as well as prizes for the fundraiser on the night. Looking forward to playing some live music for everyone on the night as well. Matt Steamson, I don't know if you know of him, but a very, very good musician as well. He plays in a lot of hotels on island. So between the two of us, we'll put on a show.
There you go, man. Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to dropping in and being a part of it. Can't say I can contribute anything great to the quiz answers, but hey, I'll be there laughing. But thank you. And thank you to all you extended.
Thank you so much for
friends.
having us.
Sterling, and thank you, Radio Cayman.
It's a pleasure. All right, to our listeners, we're going to pause and take a break, but there are no prizes for when you call in, but there might be. So think about what you want to talk about when we come back for some open line. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have on Island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Needs Assessment Unit pilot program, NAU, is in our district, seeks to improve access to NAU services by persons and district communities. This Friday, December 11th, NAU staff will visit the East End Civic Center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. to support persons in need of assistance with their NAU application. Then on Friday, December 18th, the NAU team will visit Northside Public Library to assist residents of that district from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. More visits are planned for 2021. In international news, a UK grandmother, Margaret Keenan, who turns 91 next week, has become the first person in the world to be given the Pfizer COVID-19 jab as part of a mass vaccination program. It is the first of 800,000 doses of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine that will be dispensed in the coming weeks. The UK and EU have reached agreements on how rules in the Brexit divorce deal relating to Northern Ireland's borders will work in practice. The two sides have reached an agreement in principle on issues including border control posts and the supply of medicines. Rugby World Cup winner Steve Thompson and 7 other former players claim the sport has left them with permanent brain damage and are in the process of starting a claim against the game's authorities for negligence. Every member of the group has recently been diagnosed with the early signs of dementia, and they say repeated blows to the head are to blame. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
You're picking up. Perfect. Right.
Boom. Yo, why are you making that noise? I am trying to practice.
Practice for what?
Don't you know who's coming on the show?
Wait, no. Isn't it the head boy and head girl of Clifton and John Gray?
Yes, plus my amazing rap skills.
Nope, no one wants to hear that. You mean the rappers from Always Determined, mentored by Stuart Wilson.
Well, this is Stuart Wilson, and I'd like to take this opportunity to big up my good friend James Miles, also known as Jamo. I want to say welcome to ADS as well. Always Determined, the young group with their new single Snapping. And I also want to say a huge big up to Youth Flex and the Youth Flex crew and all the listeners at home. One love.
The word of the week is recalcitrant. RECALCITRANT. It is an adjective that means resistant to authority or having an substantially uncooperative attitude toward authority or discipline.
You can join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM. Plus, you can join us on YouTube Live. And for Youth Flex, a program for all people by young people. Youth Flex, more than talk.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for sharing with us. And it is open line as we want to continue to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts as best as we can and the most objective, impartial, honest, and hospitable manner. Know that you're welcome to share with us. Sometimes many of us feel a sense of reservation, a bit reticent. Sometimes, sadly, we even feel as if, we're being precluded from voicing or otherwise sharing our opinions or thoughts. Sometimes we feel like we, have to be so polite and politically correct that what is it that we want to say is being lost in translation. And others, sadly, again, may feel that they're saying A, B, C, D, and E, but it's really, X, Y, and Z that they want to share, but because they know that in past experiences, those comments were somehow being impeded, restricted, monitored, or at the very least, that sense of sort of self-imposed restraints that can otherwise be helpful in a responsible democracy preclude many of us from asking a question or sharing a comment or seeking clarification. Well, we can, I believe, do that still in a respectful, responsible manner that may encourage others to either agree with what is being said or to step up and challenge, the particular thought process. And that would make for a healthy society. If at the end of the day we're agreeing and disagreeing with a view to improving, who we are and what we are and where we are, then it can only get better. Well, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Let me ask of you, and I want to say this with a view to appreciate that things are extremely different for many of us, perhaps extremely difficult for many of us. But when you look at the Cayman context, do you see us as parents sort of raising our children in a bubble? Do you see us as society members, especially now with the restrictions globally, with the protocols we have to follow entering and leaving our country? Do you see us as sort of living in some place that perhaps isn't reflective of the reality? Do you see us in a state where it's not sustainable financially, the debts that we take on as individuals or even as governments, the pace of development, the space between one major project ending and another starting, the increase in numbers of people, and that impact on our demographic? What are your thoughts? Are we looking sufficiently far enough down the road? Is the long-term outlook for us 4 years in terms of an election cycle? Is it 4 minutes or 4 months? Should we be looking at 50 years or 100 years and saying that that's potentially short to medium term and not long term? And in that, are we as individuals, just like we probably would as parents, are we prepared to make this sacrifice for future generations, forego perhaps enjoying certain things in order for it to be better for others? Like as parents, many parents work really hard to give their children a better life and a better chance at a better life. Is that what we as society members need and should be doing? Do you think we're doing enough of it? Do you think, well, you know what, you've worked hard, now it's time to play hard and enjoy it? Well, give us your perspective. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. And again, it's not that we all like to talk about politics, but the question is, how much of that discussion is going on now behind closed doors? Either us, because of whatever reason, we're fearful that, we'll get out that we're having this thought, so we keep it confined to our backyards. Or it may not be, us as neighbors and family and friends and co-workers and communities. It may be us who are orchestrating, to some extent, the potential outcome for the next election. So some would say, the puppet masters at play. Well, what if the small numbers are, now meeting to decide as they deliberate what and who and when and how? Well, are we part of that? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can send your thoughts with us as we are thinking about what our life is ahead down the road. The other thing that we perhaps want maybe to ask of you is the idea that as we watch what is happening globally, we may see it as a sign of confidence. We may see it as absolutely necessary to instill within people that this is what is necessary. But as one person shared, if you have to go to so much trouble to sell and market something, whether it's a pair of shoes or to convince people to buy a product, is it worth it? So with that in mind, as respectfully as we can, a number of you have asked the question, well, what is our society's view on the vaccine? For some, they are anxiously awaiting, its arrival because they would like to take it and get on with their life and get back to normal. There are some who are, totally on the other end, not now. And others are saying, well, let's be cautiously optimistic. The thing is, how do we ensure that we're being responsible in our actions, and how and to what extent, will things need to transpire that would ensure the continued safety and confidence and the support and the continued health of our people? Now, we know, even from our own earlier days of the press briefings that were unfolding, there was some talk about an immunity passport, some sort of approval to travel. You have to demonstrate something, in this case, perhaps that you've been administered successfully the vaccine that would allow you not only to travel across borders, but perhaps sometimes even within the same country, going from one part of the country to the next. Perhaps as some, and I think MLA Chris Saunders, or forgive me, I still get used to that, and MP Saunders shared recently in his sort of weekly address to his constituents the notion that what would preclude businesses, if they're seemingly being encouraged by governments to say to its customers, hey, if you want to do business with us, then you need to have, this thing to demonstrate that you can come in. So maybe it's a sporting match, maybe it's going to a restaurant, maybe it's going to something else. Well, let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Very blessed and thankful, sir. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. You are hitting all the hot topics and asking for views,
You think I have a job tomorrow?
Well, you've been doing that job so well for a long time, and while being critical without being disagreeable, so you really know how to balance out how to do a job like that. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you for those kind words.
Yes. Now, I think you've talked about a number of things, some of which relate to the general future in the Cayman Islands. I want to comment something about the general future and some discussions that we have from time to time about independence, and then tie that up to some issue. You see, nobody needs to be told that nobody in Cayman wants independence right now. I don't think so.
Right.
And I think it is a reasonable view, because why do people like those who fought for independence, why did they fight for independence? It was because they were being oppressed in a very open way, in an old-fashioned kind of colonial way, denied education, denied health, and, they could see that if they get independence, they will get greater opportunities. And many of those countries, when they got independence, they did get those opportunities. But Cayman, you see, because it is economically one of the best and most the best places to live in terms of standard of living. Socially, there's a very reasonable cohesion. We do have some little problems here and there. A very good place to live in just about every department, subject to one or two little problems we have. And in that kind of atmosphere, you see, people won't say, well, let's get independence just because we are proud Caymanians. I just don't think that people think that way, and Caymanians are not different in thinking that way. Unless in future something happens, like one of these issues, I think the biggest one in the horizons right now is the one about the possibility of UK people voting here, which died, but I don't think it has completely died. When that was being floated, for the first time I found Caymanians were saying, if they do this, we should go independent. So it seems to me, until something like that really happens, I think a lot of people will remain of the same view. And I think there's everything to be said for that. But the little wrench I want to throw into that is this. The talk has been very often, well, in 25 or 20 years, 30 years, maybe we can be independent. But the issue there becomes, in 25, 30 years, what would the demographics be?
Yep.
Exactly. It is quite possible that a number of people who've come in from outside, not from the UK, maybe from Canada, maybe from the States, but mainly from the UK, there will be more of those people there. I think a greater number of those people are getting status. And it will get to a point, I believe, where even if you took the matter to a referendum, it may not be possible for people to say we want independence, because at that point it will have become more like a borough of the UK.
Yeah.
And if I can cite two examples very quickly, one is the Falklands. The Falklands, once the majority of the people there became British, They had the referendum, but they said we still want to be British. In Gibraltar, they've had something like about 2 or 3 plebiscites. And once the British people became the majority there, they keep saying we want to be part of Britain. So as much as I appreciate how people feel about independence, it is good to think about that and to say when you think you are ready to be independent, do you think you will be, and to factor that into their thinking as the conversation goes on. But I think for now the important thing is for people to understand that independence may not be very bad. This is what it means, this is what it doesn't mean, and to continue with the public discussion and education. Now the second point is a shorter point. In the Bible, I was brought up pretty much in a Christian school from grade 1 to grade 12. 3 different Christian schools. And I love that verse in the Bible where Jesus Christ was saying, if you are indeed my disciples, you shall learn the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And it was always a very nice note on which to end sermons, for example, in church. And Cayman being a Christian country, it is enshrined also in the Constitution that it is. It is very ironic right now that I think that the truth in Cayman is under attack. I think I can mention this carefully. Cayman Mao Road there's a case which is no longer sub judice. We can discuss it a little bit.
Right.
Cayman Mao Road produced a report one time of a certain person who was investigated for possessing a firearm, and the matter went to the DPP. The DPP looked at it, said, okay, we are not going to prosecute. And I'm not now questioning even the decision of the DPP. That was made. But my problem is that when Cayman Mao Road reported just the facts of this case, that this happened, and here's even a document showing that the DPP didn't want to prosecute. And then it went further ahead and said, look at their kids who are in their 20s sitting in Northwood for possessing a firearm for years and years, and yet here is somebody who has done a similar thing and they are not even prosecuted. And then they were sued, which is fine. But my problem is that a judge ordered that the story be taken down. But how do you order something that is true to be taken down? And I read that story, I saw the documents, and I read the case law, refreshed myself on the case law. You should never order a publication to be taken down as an injunction if it is true. The only way in which you bring down a story if it is true is if you can come up with stories evidence which shows, for example, that it is untrue. For example, let us imagine A is having an affair with B, and then somebody writes a story to say, oh, you know what, A never divorced X. Actually, he is still married to X. And then they write that story. Then you go to court and you say, I want an injunction to bring down that story because here is a certificate from the registrar of marriages, original, notarized and everything, which says that I'm divorced from that person. In that kind of case, a court then can say, no, we don't have to wait for the end of the case. You told a lie. Even as the case is going on, it should be brought down.
Right.
But we wound up in that particular case where a true story was being brought down, and I think that is not true.
Right.
The last point, which is very brief because the case is still in the court of law, the same publication again. Now the person has been convicted, and according to the judgment, the truth doesn't matter. Okay, I've read the judgment. I think there are some legal problems with it. Once the sentencing phase is finished, I would like to express some views on it because the basic problem that I found with it is that it is considered to be harassment even if you tell the truth and you make a publication. To me, it would be harassment if I keep writing to you, Dwayne, and I say, Dwayne, you did this, you did that, I'm sending things to your email. Even if what I'm saying is true, I'm harassing you because I'm getting in your face. But that was not the case in that one. But we'll get into that once it is finished. I think there's a lot to be discussed in terms of the legality of that.
Right.
If
you have a minute, maybe I could just revisit two of your points. Let's talk about the idea of truth and truth being under attack. It may be the case in Cayman, but the question is it also the case globally, or at least in the Western democracies? For instance, someone shared that in this whole notion of ensuring that there's responsible, accurate, and timely dissemination of information, we're seeing, allegations that some of the larger social media platforms are blocking certain comments. Now, granted, we want responsible, accurate commentary. Yeah. But what about freedom of speech, expression, and assembly? If someone or some entity opts to say something, should they not be allowed in a free society to do so? Or should there be thought police, who decides what can and can't be? I mean, go back to, perhaps Fahrenheit 451, one of the perhaps better read books that showed, once information is no longer available and all books are to be destroyed, then whether it's a physical book or an online version of some information, where are we far from that society?
Dwayne, I mean, the questions you are raising, I mean, those are the questions of today. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, in that case, the one that I just cited, mm-hmm. I understand this offense of using an IT system to harass somebody mm-hmm. does not exist even in England. And in England, they've had some of the funniest offenses you can imagine. Sedition, if you speak bad of the crown, you prosecuted. But even they, in this modern time, they don't have an offense of harassing somebody by an IT network in the circumstances that were described. But talking about the broad issue that you've raised, see, at the end of the day, the challenge that we have in society today is, we've always had the challenge of balancing the rights of the individual mm-hmm. and the rights of the public to know.
Right.
That has always existed. The famous thing in the States is, of course, you've got the freedom of speech, but you don't have the right to shout fire in a crowded theater.
Right.
We all understand that concept, but when it comes to the fine application of it in society, that's where the challenge is. And the challenge is even more today because, unlike in the old times where there was old-fashioned journalism, you buy the paper is written, then you walk to your nearest newsstand, buy one, and so forth. There were very few people who were putting things out there. But now I can put something on Facebook, on Instagram, it can go out there and really destroy somebody's character. And I think that's where the challenge is. But I think, in my view, the principles still are the same. Mm-hmm. The principles are that if there is a greater good to be achieved by you going out there and saying X happened, mm-hmm. particularly if it relates to somebody who has put themselves out as a candidate and so forth, you should be able to say as much as you can in a public forum about that person and to raise issues. And if that person has got a problem, they can either just respond to you and say what you are saying is not true. And if they find that you still continue to say things that are damaging to their character, then your remedy really is to go to court and mm-hmm. sue them for defamation. And then if you think that you've got enough evidence to counteract that even before trial, you apply for an injunction. Mm-hmm. And to me, I just think that truth of what you say must be a defense in anything that you do.
Right.
And once you start saying that even if it's true, but if you say it in a certain way on a certain medium, even if it's true, then it's a problem, then I see that as a very easy way in which you are going to stifle freedom of speech. Right. In fact, by the way, that's why in a lot of Commonwealth countries, the reason they've been very slow to give injunctions, if you are telling the truth, is because they know that people, even if they know what you've said about them is true, then they deliberately go to court just so that they can stop something which is otherwise legitimate. That's why they said, look, if we are going to bring down something that is out there, you have to practically provide conclusive evidence that it is untrue. Then that way we don't need to go all the way to trial on that particular issue. We can bring it down straight away. But so long as it's an arguable point, we will allow it to go all the way to trial. And I think what we need to do in order to draw that balance in the best way possible. One of the ways is to ensure that we are developing legislation which is properly scrutinized. In my view, this legislation which says that if you use an IT thing, you can tell the truth but still commit an offense, I suspect that if it had been subjected to a proper stress test, at the time it was being legislated on, I suspect it might not have been legislated on. But again, this brings me back into another area now of my pet peeve. The problem in Cayman, a lot of legislation is not subject to a lot of stress testing. In other countries, what they tend to do is, for example, if I'm working in the Ministry of Commerce, for example, and I'm submitting a proposal for legislation, I write that proposal. I'm trained how to write that proposal. And once I write it, before I send it to the drafting department, I give it to somebody else who is not involved in the process but knows the subject matter. They go through to ensure that my instructions are clear. And then when it goes eventually to the people who draft the legislation, they too are supposed to subject it to stress test. You know, in other countries, what they would do is they always work in pairs. In Cayman, one drafter can do a bill and it goes to the Legislative Assembly. In other countries, they insist it should always be two people on one draft. And when they prepare the draft, they are supposed to then give it to the human rights people, give it to even people in the society on a confidential basis, like those people like maybe journalists and so on and so forth, and ask them, what they understand by that legislation. Once you do that stress testing, you do find sometimes issues like this could come out. Because in my view, to prevent somebody from publishing something which is true, just because you think somebody else might feel that it is hurting them, even if it's true, it is unconstitutional. That piece of legislation, in my view, I would argue that is unconstitutional. But those are the issues, Dwayne, we need. They go to how we make our legislation, how we apply it, how it's analyzed in the Legislative Assembly, and the society also very quickly. The society has to be engaged.
Yes.
The society has to be engaged so that when issues like this come, once they are no longer sub judice, we can discuss them in seminars, in public meetings, and so on.
Right. Well, I appreciate you, having the courage. I say this, hopefully that it'll get people thinking. It's unfortunate that we have a perception in our society that it takes courage to do this. This should just be the norm, as you shared. There's an editorial in a publication. There is a news piece on the front page, or there's a ruling in the courts, or there's a legislation before the parliament, that the society should, one, know what's going on, and two, know that they have an obligation and legal protection to comment for or against or as necessary, right?
You're so right about that. It shouldn't be, it should be as a matter of course. When the legislation comes out, people should be able to comment freely and so on. And another little thing which was mentioned by one of the MLAs some time back, they mentioned that, you see, some of the legislation is published within 21 days, it comes to the LA, it's passed. In other countries, they would take it to a select committee, a committee where members of the public can also come and give views on it. Really make double sure that it is being analyzed, and that should exist. There should be enough institutions in society to allow that to happen. There should be enough shows, and lucky enough in Cayman we do have some shows such as yours which allow people to be able to talk. But those should be, the blogs, there are some bloggers, but what we want in Cayman is responsible bloggers, not people who just write anything and so on. But it has to exist within a fourth estate, as understood today, which can make sure that we are discussing things as a matter of course, not as special events.
Yeah, man. And this is, as I listen to you, looking at a couple of the comments sent through to us electronically, a lot of people are becoming engaged and informed. The question, as this one posed, will that be too late? Will they now become actively engaged, to use your words? So very much appreciate you taking time and sharing with us, and hopefully as people listen, that it'll give them the same level
thanks
of...
very much. Thanks for the opportunity. I always enjoy calling in and listening to other people's views.
Indeed.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Have a wonderful afternoon. All right.
Bye. You too.
Thank you. Well, with that in mind, do we pause and take a break, Mr. Carl? And do we again keep the phone lines open to allow people to call in? Hey, he says yes. In fact, he says he'd rather hear from you than from me. So I agree with him. 949-8037. Or you can use the Flow toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. A couple of quick other comments that came in while the caller last was speaking. Let me try to put them in some sort of order and share them with us as we return. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Miracle Brokers International, your worldwide movers and freight forwarders, continues to work hard to improve their expertise to provide you with the first-class service you have come to expect. Now, together with Consolidated Freight Line, CFL, the specialist in logistical and global cargo solutions, customers can rely on an expanded team of moving professionals that gets the job done in a timely manner. Whether it's your prized possessions, full container loads, less than container loads, ro-ro cargo, or construction equipment, from door to port services, or across the oceans, from destinations such as the US, Canada, Asia, the Caribbean, Central and South America, among others. Miracle Brokers and CFL Combined Networks offers hundreds of expert connections that take the stress out of moving and shipping services. Call today for your free estimate, 949-5989. You can also log on to www.miraclebrokers.com. Miracle Brokers is located at the end of Kingbird Road, just past CUC. Miracle Brokers, the art of packing and moving, 949-5989.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, we share our warmest wishes for the holiday season and a happy new year. Thank you for your continued support in business. We look forward to serving you in the upcoming year. For information as it happens, follow us on our social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and visit our website, chamberpension.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Don't miss Fat Chance on Radio Cayman every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. starting November 18th until December 23rd, with a repeat of each week's episode airing every Saturday at 6:45 p.m. beginning on November 21st and ending on December 26th. Fat Chance. Fat Chance is a comedy everyone can relate to. Henpeck Dexter is back with his wife Corinne and his mother-in-law who is living with the couple. The universal theme is be careful what you wish for, as you just may get it.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us. As we invite you to be a part of the discussion, it is open line here on Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Well, as we continue the discussion and ask you to call and share your thoughts with us, not just have the courage and conviction, but the confidence, recognize equally that it may be incumbent upon us to share our views so that others can, and feel a sense of, hey, I was thinking the same thing, or they can think, hey, wait a minute, I have a completely different thought process. They may come to a similar conclusion, but have went another route to get there. That's what makes us a strong society. So it's open line, 949-8037, 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. If you're celebrating a birthday today, well, we want to wish you a happy birthday. I have some of my friends who, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and the day after, good birthdays in the month of December. Well, it's been a challenging year, and I don't say that lightly, recognizing that many didn't see this, a way forward to celebrate their birthday this year. Others did it for a short time and met another demise, and others, well, we know the challenges, and so we have you in our prayers. But if you're listening and you want to WhatsApp, well, the Radio Came On WhatsApp is 925-3261. If you have mine or the other one, well, you can use that as well. We want your thoughts on there. Always good to be in a good company of good people as we learn more about who we are, where we are. We get to appreciate what we have as we get to understand the importance of sharing. The last caller's points, raised a couple of comments from some of our listeners. I had a quick look again during the break so that I didn't miss anything, and wrote down 3 points that were shared by a handful of listeners who, for whatever reason, opted not to call publicly or just didn't have the time. We recognize how busy and increasingly so, more so, as we get towards the end of the year. On the issue of independence, a couple of callers shared how interesting it is. As I wrote it down, one person says that all of the MLAs, but now MPs, and many others in their community, having more frequent public comments about supporting the call and the cause for independence. With that in mind, as a point of reference, you'll remember that not long ago you talked about independence, and you were berated, maligned, castigated, and otherwise probably putting yourself in a basket that was going to be difficult from which to emerge. And if you were a politician or a political hopeful, well, that was probably the end of that prospect for you. But now it seems different. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Well, you give us your perspective. The other comment from some of our listeners had to do with the whole issue of, when we look at the Cayman context and we compare it to other jurisdictions. When it comes to information, one individual wrote the difference, and perhaps one of the biggest concerns in our society is whether or not there is a healthy sense of trust and confidence amongst the people and its leadership, whether it's political elected or appointed, whether it's civic or business or otherwise. Now, do you think that's an issue? Do you think in our society, like Sweden, for instance, where it's said, for those who live, work there, or very familiar, that there is, an accepted and a healthy trust that's been long-standing between the government and the citizens, that the government will give accurate, timely information, that the citizens will respond in a very timely, responsible, socially conscious manner. In the Cayman context, do we have that? If we don't, well, what can we do to get it? How long will it take? And do we have people who are willing to, by example, demonstrate the importance of it? Or with that in mind, sort of what I've sort of seen as a connected comment, another listener says that's probably one of the challenges that we'll face globally, that we may need as citizens across the globe for leadership, business leadership, political leadership, ecclesiastical leadership, and the like, to publicly demonstrate that the vaccine is safe by receiving it publicly. Of course, there are many of us who would say, well, wait a minute, how do we know that they're getting the same thing the rest of us are going to get? How do we know that they're even going to get that thing? And this comes back to the earlier comment. Is there trust and confidence that people are doing and saying, what they say they're doing? Well, let's go to the phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you today? Welcome. Thank you for sharing with us.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
All is well?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you. How are you doing, Dwayne?
Man, listen, man, I'm doing so good that if you saw me in a catboat with a fishing line out, you would think, this guy's blessed, man. So all is well.
You see, Dwayne, you're speaking about election independent, and I think the next election gonna be some different situation than last two elections.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the UDP party will not run candidates everywhere. I think the 4 seats in West Bay will be UDP. That's next election.
Mm-hmm.
I think BPM gonna lose more seats in town and different, especially in Bodentown and different places, gonna lose more seats.
Mm-hmm.
More independent gonna win, especially that there is people who left the BPM party. They have a chance to win, like Wayne Banton. I think we will see more independence, and it's a bigger chance for Mr. Arden McLean to be the premier next time. That's what I see.
Yeah, man.
I think it's a bigger chance for Mr. Arden to be the premier. I think with Izzard gonna lose North Side seat, that's for sure next time. I see there is a lot of people are now standing in North Side against Izzard Miller because he voted for homosexuality, and I think supporting gay and homosexuality, I think that was the end of his career. I think there is a chance for new faces to rise. For example, in Newlands, maybe there is big chance for Raul Gonzalez. I think there is big chance for in Savannah, Mr. Eden's son. He's a new politician coming to the arena to carry with him the big experience Mr. Anthony Eden carrying. So he want to continue his father legacy. There is a lot of changes going to be happening next time. There is a lot of new faces going to win. So there is a lot of change going to happen, Dwayne.
Mm-hmm.
And I think PPM gonna lose. And the main reason choosing Roy McCartert as a leader for the party, that was the finish, the end for them. I think if they choose a younger person in the PPM, maybe the Joey Hugh or something, maybe they will have a better chance. But I think Roy McCartert is not loved by the general public in Cayman to be a premier. He's not capable as a person because a lot of issue I will speak about in the election time. But I think the PPM are losing their stronghold. If Mr. Kirk Tibbet this time, he don't put his fingers in the election, I think BPM, they're going to have bad situation. Mr. Tibbet say he out of politics, but he still, last election, he still gone house to house with candidates and he make them win. So I think this time we will wait and see if he still continue to be part of the election or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that will determine some faith of some candidates.
All right. Well, let me ask you, I mean, as some listening to you, especially those who are either very much politically minded, would be more interested. But would you not say then that that's the challenge that we're facing, that perhaps already because of a lack of political party sort of being formally established and having the discipline that the political parties are supposed to have, the PPM already has lost in the sense that now it has a coalition. It had to bring in different people, merging what was the UDP with what presumably were non-aligned independents to form, this coalition government that we have. So by default, then, would you not say that the parties are already lost?
Yeah, I think it seems in Cayman that the two parties are losing their strongholds, their powers. It seems more independent are winning. That means the people are looking for a change. Maybe we see this party, Mr. Miller, are putting out, but I think this party is failed before it starts, because I don't see any reliable politician in that party could deliver anything. The names of the people who we see they are sitting in that party are not really reliable for people to depend on them to lead the country. People want some people who are capable 100%. If you put me between a choice between Mr. McLaughlin, Alden McLaughlin, or Izzard Miller to lead the country, of course I would say Mr. Alden is a leader.
But is that, sorry to interject, is that based on, and I appreciate your opinion, but is that based on just that, your opinion, your personal preference for one over the other? Or is it, in your view, objectively assessing the leadership style, the leadership qualities, the competence, the integrity, all of those things that we would want in a good leader? From your perspective only, is your assessment, you feel, objectively based, or is it more on personal preference?
Of course, I see there is a leader quality in Mr. McLaughlin more than 1,000 times more than Izzard. And I think Mr. McLaughlin is a very high educated person, a very intelligent man who is.
But would you not say the same for Mr. Miller?
No, I don't. I will say about education. Yes, he is educated, but he have problems with his hate and anger.
So is it then, if I could then ask then, is it then that in the Cayman context or political system, whether it's the party or however we played out, is still based heavily on personalities? As you shared, if Mr. Tibbetts keeps his fingers, I believe was your phrase, out of the election, it could be a different outcome. So is it then that we still heavily influence, like a beauty pageant, on the personality of the whole thing, as opposed to the principles, the policies, the level of leadership that is brought to the table is more on the likes and dislikes, the personalities, as opposed to the process and everything else?
Of course, when personalities play, like if, for example, if front of me somebody run like Mr. Anthony Eden, I will look at Mr. Anthony Eden as an honest man, honest politician, clean hand politician, a man who is always clean hand and always godly person, who always support and work for the Caymanian people and always done what is good for the Caymanian people. And as you know, I am the most one fight against PPM, but always I respect Mr. Anthony Eden as a politician, as a leader, as a person who always I put aside from the leadership of PPM. I criticize all of them, but I never criticize Mr. Anthony Eden, neither Mr. Tibbet, Kirk Tibbet. I never criticize Mr. Tibbet. But I think I think PPM did a big mistake this time by choosing the leadership. I think they've done themselves a very bad when they choose Roy McCartert as a leader. I think it is going to be they're losing the next election for sure.
But let me ask you then, right? If I can draw from what you shared, if your contention is that Mr. Miller would lose his seat in Northside because of his support for the legislation, the PPM being the government and Mr. McLaughlin being the premier in the sitting government, would, in your estimation then, would that support, they brought the law, they supported it, would that also mean that those others, including the premier and members of his team, the support of that legislation, would they also lose their seat?
They will be affected next election, of course. That's what is the other side should present to the people, that those people who are brought this law, especially like, for example, if we look at some MLAs, we always in politics say MLA for one time, and there are some MLAs in PPM now, those MLAs for one time, especially if we look at Austin Harris. Austin Harris never done any motion, never brought anything affected in the House. Never we hear 4 years, we never hear achieve anything. What he done in 4 years is zero.
But let me ask of you, I sorry to interject, but in the spirit of a discussion, is that part of the problem now? We have, and I'll use this, and people can take it how they want, but understand that, house divided can't stand. So we've taken the country, and we haven't, I wouldn't use the word carved it up, I say we cut it up into little bits and pieces, right? Dividing communities, and sometimes, by the line drawn by the hand of man, families. So if an MLA at the time, as we call them, in one little area, isn't achieving anything but can work for the greater good, for the national good, isn't that what we want? A voting populace of, just a little bit of people that you can't put in a stadium. Surely they should be working for what is better for the country, as opposed to what is, only beneficial at the expense of the country for a small pocket.
I think, Dwayne, if we have something called a national vote, like we elected the 19 member, like every person in Cayman, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, Grand Cayman, voted for 19 names. I want those 19 names to be the MLAs or MPs. We call them MPs now, members of parliament. I want to vote for 19 names.
Right.
So and those 19 names is the one I choose.
Right.
The one in Little Cayman choose 19 names, because everyone sitting in the House voting for things affecting the life of the people in the three islands.
Right.
So I think it's very important. Let me just mention to you that giving new faces a chance. Last election, the people give a chance to Kenneth Bryan. Kenneth did a great job. I think no MLA ever worked in his community as much Kenneth worked. He done a great job. He is connected to the people. He visited every home. Every day he is in certain area in his community. He's doing hard work in his community, and the people are appreciating his hard work. I think we need such MLAs in everywhere. We need to see people who working in the community. If you ask Roy McCartert when last time you was in Wednesday Park, I don't think, maybe 4 years ago when the election was.
But isn't that part of the challenge? And please understand, I'm not trying to either malign or defend any of the politician, but isn't that part of the challenge, as you highlighted? We're not voting for all 19. And when we have people who are now elevated to the office of a cabinet minister, they have the workings and the duties of the country. So that might make it a little bit more challenging for them to spend as much time in their respective constituencies than it probably is for somebody else who doesn't have the responsibilities of a ministerial portfolio. So are we putting the country, not just the politician, but the country and its needs, perhaps in a bit of a quandary because we have to now try to serve two masters?
No, you see, Dwayne, I think every MP or MLA, whatever we call them, you need to put time for the people elect him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he need to visit them to see, what is their needs, what is the problems they have.
I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, Dwayne, we need to see that that those MLAs, yes, they are collecting big salary, yes, but they need to do a lot of hard work in the community.
But is it different work then? I mean, they're probably, as you said, they're working hard. They're dividing their time up amongst the constituencies and probably have long hours. But are we now, I don't want to use the word maturing or advancing, but are we now at a place where we need to kind of look at expectations of our politicians and what was the thing that we did way back when in terms of having them come around and do things? Maybe now we need to get to a point where the politician is focusing more on policy and strategy and the forward positive movement of the country in a better direction, as opposed to some of the things that we've asked of them in the past.
Yes, Dwayne, I think we need more intelligent politicians who can read what happened in the future. Why, for example, why the governor are bringing this issue of regiment, why they are changing the legislation assembly to members of parliament. I can see that this is the movements of England. As an intelligent person should know what is the attention behind the scene in England, that as MPs they need to know, or members of legislation assembly, whatever you want to call them, they need to know that there is something behind making the regiment, making the legislation assembly to be parliament. That tell you that England needs to hand over all the powers to Cayman Island, and they need to come out of it as they are coming out of England. And I think this is going to happen, Dwayne.
Yeah,
I'm very sure. I know colonialism. I come from Middle East.
Yep.
I know how the colonized countries think and how they do it. And they are not telling us when they're gonna one day tell us, listen, we are out of here, you are in your own. And that's what they are preparing for.
Looks so, man. Listen, apologies. I enjoy listening to people share, but would you leave us there as we can move on to the news and then talk again later? Hey, thanks very much, right?
Thank you.
All right, have a good afternoon. Listen, if you talk, we want to hear. If you engage us, we're willing to respond. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. A dozen Cuban migrants are in mandatory quarantine in a government facility. The 10 men and 2 women were spotted on a vessel off the coast of Little Cayman on Sunday. When they landed, they were taken to Cayman Brac, tested for COVID-19, and placed in quarantine. In international news, Florida police have raided the home of data scientist Rebecca Jones, who built the state's official COVID-19 database. Ms. Jones had accused the U.S. Department of Health of manipulating virus data in order to relax pandemic restrictions. Florida's law enforcement department said it was responding to a hack of the state's emergency health alert system. Ms. Jones denies any involvement. The world's highest mountain, Mount Everest, is 0.86 meters higher than had been previously officially calculated. Nepal and China have jointly announced. Until now, the countries differed over whether to add the snow cap on top. The new height is 29,032 feet. An animal park in Belgium has welcomed the arrival of a critically endangered Sumatran orangutan. The male orangutan named Matai was born on November 28, 2020. He was conceived and born naturally, joining his father Ujan, mother Sari, and brother Barani. The brothers can expect to live up to 45 years, and Matai will live with his family until around the age of 10, when he reaches adulthood and will have to find a female partner. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
CG Britk would like to wish our clients, their families, our staff, and our communities a happy holiday. In this time of celebration, let us remember what this past year has taught us. That we can be in different rooms, different homes, or on different islands, yet never feel apart. Because we are here for each other and stronger together. We look forward to the new year, to serving your insurance needs, and always putting people first. Happy holidays from our CG Britk family to yours.
It is the season of giving, and there is no better place to shop than Penha, Mac, and Victoria's Secret. Amazing savings on already low prices, and when you sign up for the Penha loyalty card, you get 3% back on all your purchases. And while you shop, enter raffles to win major prizes up to $5,000. Penha, Mac, and Victoria's Secret on 40 Cardinal Avenue in Georgetown.
Are you ready for the reggae show of the year? Bacardi presents One Love concert series, bringing to you Mr. Notch and Locomotion 345, Stuart Wilson, Erica Asai, and DJ Nico. It's going down Saturday, December 12th at Coral Beach. Tickets only $25. VIP inclusive drink $65. Cabana packages $200. Available now at eventpro.ky.
Brought to you by Bacardi, Burger Shack, Supermix, Rubis, and Radio Cayman.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Hey, thanks for sharing with us as we invite you to be a part of a discussion here in Open Line and Talk Today 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Wow, it's almost Christmas. I trust and pray that you will have a blessed one, and as you make your preparations, it's not just about the food, fun, and the fellowship and the idea of giving thanks, and as you buy that present for that special loved one, whether it's spouse or sibling or parent or child or just a very close friend, and that you have in that sense of agape love that you want to show, as the mom earlier reminded us, show our love and appreciation for those that are here with us. But also, we're thinking of the year ahead, and as much trepidation that we may feel, hopefully you feel a sense of hope, as you're probably sadly maybe having a sense of despair and feeling a bit despondent. Well, look equally of time ahead that provides much promise, and not allow the enemy to steal your joy. I know it's challenging. I know it's sometimes difficult to see, something that you can't control. You can see the roadblock ahead, but seemingly have no way of avoiding it. Well, why not? Exercise a level of faith, draw nigh into prayer, and make yourself, content and consoled by the notion that you'll not be given any more than you can bear. And through strength and adversity, your character will emerge. Let it be one filled with dignity and humility, a sense of grace and graciousness. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for sharing.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very blessed. And yourself?
Good.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, same here. Sterling, I'm trying to get this air thing in my ear here, this air plug.
It's a challenge sometimes, huh?
Yeah, and have nothing written on to it or something.
And you put the left one in the right one and it doesn't feel right, and then you switch it over and it still doesn't feel right.
You know what I mean? People are crazy.
Yeah. All right, you got it set.
Sterling, I know a lot of people don't want to hear what I have to say right now, but I want to say it.
Well, I'm listening.
I'm going to talk about the garbage collection that we're doing to clean up for the bulk. Okay. All right, Sterling, we got it going on here in Newlands and the bypass called Crichton Boulevard as you enter come in from Newlands.
Right.
Sterling, let me tell you something. Out there has been a disgrace for the last almost week. And Sterling did a cleanup last year, and there they are doing another cleanup again for this year. Where are they getting this stuff from, Sterling? It's like they go to the dump and bring it there, and then you take it back to the dump.
Well,
Sterling, we got gardeners that go and do someone's yard and get paid to do the yard and to haul the stuff to the dump, right? But they got to take it now and pile it up on the pickup site. The government is doing to call themselves cleaning up for the Christmas and the year to clean up. Sterling, if we cripple our people any more than we're doing right now, let me tell you something, Sterling. Government got to show how to send somebody with a spoon to feed us.
Well, why is it then? And I hear what you're sharing, and I like the sense of industry and entrepreneurship that we see in our country. I do. But it would seem that increasingly more of us, and it's probably happening in other jurisdictions, but with great respect to all of us here and what's happening, from what you're saying, are we becoming so dependent on government, whatever that looks like and whoever that may be at whatever time, for everything that you said? Now we need somebody with the spoon to feed us. I mean, what is it that is happening to us that's causing us? Yes, Mom.
The Cayman Islands got this thing on their head that we, as the people and the government, can take care of everything here in this island, and that is not true. Because Sterling, what's happening with us right now, we are being robbed when it comes to rentals, living quarters, buying your own property, going to the bank to get a loan, and yet we are acting as if we can solve everybody's problem, but yet we can't solve our young generation that is so in need of space. They have their own home. You can go to the bank and get a car, and they give you any car you want, and they got a big insurance on it. And if you have an accident, the bank getting paid off. You understand?
Right.
So they can give you a car, and you have no way to live.
Right.
Which I think is ludicrous.
But you raise a point that I think many of us have shared, have heard, but for some reason we're failing to acknowledge, and that is that not that long from now, we could be facing a housing shortage, the prospect of homelessness, from the perspective that many of our citizens can't qualify for land, can't find land or housing to purchase, and if it's available, it's so expensive that it's unaffordable. So what are we doing? And even if well, you go ahead and I'll ask a similar question, but if you wish to share, are we then also making it difficult for the properties that we do own to be able to somehow use those properties in a meaningful way? Is it, as some have shared, that there is probably, a strong possibility that we might end up looking at some sort of tax on our properties, tax on our income and our wealth and the like? So that family who has a piece of land for the next generation that is just sitting there waiting for that generation to come along.
To be taxed.
To be taxed.
To be taxed.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not fair.
Yeah, but what about if you have a piece of land now and the land is sitting there and you decide, you know what, I could plant some banana suckers and some sticks of cassava and what have you, but it's as a residential area, and the neighbors in that area, for whatever reason, says, oh, you can't have a farm, you can't have that kind of garden. Or you say, well, you know what, this is a big piece of land and I have a house on it, but I want to build on to accommodate aging parents or to help the children get a start in life. We know other jurisdictions have recognized that land space is limited, and they've allowed some sort of zoning modifications. The planners and the like would probably tell me a different term, but where you can build additional dwelling units on that property. In the Cayman context, are we going to restrict that and say, nope, you can't do it, all because the people in the area now have decided, this is what they want? We've seen it with the gated communities that are springing up. We're seeing it with the lack of community and unity within their subdivisions. We're seeing it with the tone that men are taking that create a very divisive and destructive approach to society. So I'm wondering, are we paying attention to what could happen 5 years from now or 50 years from now? It's not that long from now, right?
Sterling, next 50 years from now, let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Cayman would look like if anyone got still be living here.
Mm-hmm.
But the few that's going to be here, that's going to be Caymanians, I'm going to tell you one thing right now. They will be cleaning bathrooms and toilets for the highfalutin ones that are investing in this island.
I hear the concern, and if you'd allow me to say, I rebuke that. I pray not, because it is possible the way we're treating members of our society. It would appear that that's the sort of divided society we want, where there are these, pocket of people who, because of whatever reason, whether it's wealth or otherwise, are in this category, and the others are in this category, and then we have no semblance of interacting. Look at the restrictions that to enter into communities, to get into the access to the beach, to certain things. We've got as many security guards around the place as we have bars and churches. It may not be a concern. It may be that we're overthinking it, but are we thinking enough about it? Is another question.
It's not being think about enough. And Sterling, we're going to blame our government, past, present, and future government for what is happening here in our country. We are just looking at the investors and forgetting who's here that want something, go to work every day, but yet they can't put food on the table, and they can't pay their bills, and they can't have a home of their own, or go and rent an apartment and be able to live in an apartment that costs $2,000 with 2 children or 3 children. No, this is...
As you shared, I mean, 2 things immediately spring to mind. The notion that we look at the cost of accommodation, whether it's to rent or to purchase, but it's not so much how expensive it is as much as it is that it's unaffordable because people are not employed, and when they are, they're not making the requisite amount of money to be able to afford to live. So if we're displacing people in that perspective, what is going to happen down the road where that family now can't afford where they are, and their children, when they get to that stage, can afford even less? But is there a bigger picture at stake when we talk about investor? I mean, we made a big deal about nation building and the cathedral builders and the like, but is it that we now need to rethink how the word investor is defined and what and who qualifies as an investor? I mean, for example, if a person comes in, puts in X dollars into a project and makes a whole lot of money in return, is that an investor, or is the investor the person that comes in and puts money in, makes money, but the thing that they have built is lasting and meaningful. It isn't just some high-rise building that have created more housing for people to occupy at some point, that has cost the country more infrastructure development, more traffic congestion, more need for roads and the like, and really just adds more turmoil and social unrest. I mean, is that how we see an investor?
Sterling, I don't know who we're billing for. But I'm going to tell you, we ain't billing for the Caymanians that we do have left here. We have a few Caymanians left. And the state, they got to identify the Caymanians and all that kind of crap. I was born here. I will consider myself a Caymanian. My daughter born in America. I say she's an American Caymanian. Just so they can come here and get a citizenship and say they're Canadian Caymanian. Well, I got to say the same thing too. But Sterling, seriously, something needs to be done when it comes to helping our young generation. And I hope that when this election comes next year, God willing, that every manifesto will have it on it, how to help these young people get out here in the world to find their own living quarters and be able to get a job that can pay them a decent salary so they can have their own house. It's not about the car, because like I said, you can go to the bank and get a car without even having anything these days. Once you have a good insurance, you have an accident, they're getting paid off. But the fact of the matter is, we need to look up for our few left young generation that is here suffering and punishing on a daily basis. It's our government that we are out here helping people and making the world think that we can keep this island clean so because we are a tourism destination. Let me tell you something. They still once a year clean up here the air water, bring from their backyard. We got bigger issues than that with garbage on a weekly basis throughout the whole island. That don't pick up regular.
Well, again, it comes back to how we are approaching some of the challenges that we're facing and how we as a people are looking at what we can do. I think, like you, we all would agree that from the management over DEH to the workers and the trucks that collect the garbage, we owe them a debt of gratitude and have high respect for them. But as we increase our population, are we disposing of things more and more that we could recycle? Could we reduce the consumption of certain things or reuse some things?
We don't have the people here for that recycling. We don't have the people here for that because they don't care. We got a few, and you know who they are, and we got another set that who don't give a rat's about recycling or how Cayman look, because the dollar is very strong. And before I leave, Sterling, and you cut me off, I want to send out a message to Mr. Sims and tell him, he said he's going to look into these trees hanging over the main road. I want him to look at that eucalyptus tree there on Shaden Road. And I hope he's listening. Please, Mr. Sims, go and consider that tree being taken down. It's not about beautification. I have never heard one soul say they went to that tree and pulled one limb off and got some eucalyptus all from that tree. You know what I mean?
I hear you, and I would probably tell you there'll equally be some people that say that tree, like the one by, the old CNB building, like the one by the right, and the one by the Legislative Assembly, and the one on further up on Shaden Road, the Guinnep tree. There's some trees in our communities that we've allowed to be taken down without proper regard for the social or historical context. But I hear you, safety is important. Maybe there's a way that we can, manage without, destroying every semblance of what was. But I hear you. We'll see how it goes, all right?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, a quick final break. When we come back, a comment or two from a listener who was talking about, voting and eligibility. Remind me that I want to mention that to you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
This season, Vigoro is stocking something for everyone in our 2 garden centers. Christmas decorations, succulents, ceramics, blooms, orchids, garden sculptures and accessories, mobiles and garden furniture, water fountains and wall art, and even fairies for the little ones. Make it a Vigoro Christmas with a gift that will be treasured forever. Both garden centers will be open on Christmas Eve till 6 p.m. Merry Christmas from Vigoro.
Attention Caymanians, the registration deadline for the 2021 elections is January 4th. Caymanians turning 18 on or before the May 26 election may register now.
Every vote will count in our May 2021 general election.
In order to vote in the 2021 elections, you must register by the 4th of January. For more information, visit elections.ky or the elections office at Baytown Office Suites opposite the Wharf Restaurant.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for listening and sharing. And I trust as you're moving about, you're doing so safely as you're, considering how things may transpire as we enter the new year. You're equally looking at how things are unfolding now. Well, give us a thought from your perspective of 949-8037. You can dial that number or you can call us toll free at 1-800-534-8255. The quick announcement just then about, the 4th of January being sort of the cutoff date to register to vote. Some have said, well, why is it so early, especially in the new year, going through the Christmas season with all the other things that transpire? Could it not be a week later? Well, some would say, well, if you put it a week later, why not a week later after that? The timing may not be the best, but that's the timing as it is now. And if it's not going to be extended, well, we better get our paperwork in place. It's not a difficult process from what I gather. So please get registered to vote. And then on election day, you'll have the option to go out and cast your ballots if you choose. Hopefully you will. And when you do, it'll be from a very informed, engaged, involved perspective. But at the very least, on that date, you will then have, the opportunity, an option to vote if you're on the voters list. So please go and get registered if you're eligible. Recognizing equally too that if you, will be 18, you satisfy the criteria and you'll be 18 on election day or any day prior to election day. So on or before election day, you can register to vote now. And then on that day, if you're celebrating your birthday, you celebrated the day before or the month before or whenever, hey, you can still go and vote. What would be, a better way to celebrate your 18th year of life than being able to participate in probably one of the greatest, demonstrations of democracy. And maybe you're more than 18, but you never voted before, you never got registered, but please do so. 4th of January is just a couple of days away when you count, the remaining days in the calendar. So go and get registered, please. And with that, perhaps a good segue. We had a few callers prior who were talking about, election. One talked about, as I interpret it, and very much supportive. I can see the merit, can also see the concern some would have, but a national vote, simply because the number of people who are elected, they get involved in the process, and if they become part of the cabinet, if they become premier or what have you, then they, are accountable to that smaller much smaller now constituency, but then they have to affect through the policies, the voting for the taxes, the sort of prioritizing of what will transpire in terms of government's, programs and the like. They'll affect the lives of all of us. So maybe we would want to have a say. Well, with that in mind, two individuals messaged in and said, when we come to voting and eligibility, that it may be important for us to have an ongoing dialogue, not necessarily to bring about any changes anytime soon, certainly not before the next election, but who is eligible to vote, what criteria should be satisfied, and then who would be eligible to be elected to govern, I guess I was going to say the Legislative Assembly, but it's now House of Parliament. And when as one of the early callers sort of shared, well, what if at some point in time, the citizens in the UK themselves could be a part of this? Should they be? Should they not be? What about the people who have been here for a length of time and this is home for them? Should they be? Should they not be? Able to participate more directly in the electoral process? Eligible to vote, but also eligible to stand for election and be elected. We're increasing our population, but do we just want to increase it by sheer numbers, or do we also want to increase it by participation and ownership and a vested interest in our country? We've seen the concerns of yesteryear, where a young child come to the country, whether they were born here or not, whether they came at age 1 or age 3, or in some cases, maybe a little bit longer. They live here, they grew up here, this is the home that they know. And those young children, at some point in time, really find themselves without a country, as it were. Well, for many of us, even though we knew that they weren't from here originally, we took them as one of us. We went to see what man goes. We played on the slippery edges or swam in, the Georgetown Harbour. We went to school together. We did all these things, and they were us, and we were them. We're all one. And just because of perhaps technical issues or some legalities that could easily be addressed, have we addressed them properly? For me, those are us and we are them. We have to make sure that the laws are equal and fair and applied justly across the board. Are we doing just that? Things to think about, even though we're going into a very meaningful, spiritually engaging, festive time of year. Perhaps it's the opportune time as we break bread and as we gather and congregate, whether in our churches or in our communities or in our backyards or elsewhere, that we think about these things and how to make it better. And that what we do and say as we offer up ourselves, that we do so constructively, in a civil, respectful, responsible manner. But it doesn't mean that we don't hold those to account and that we don't demand from them. If they're going to occupy an office, if they're going to take up a certain position, that they're expected to do so with a sense of integrity and humility. It's not a political statement in the sense of campaigning for electoral returns, but it is, a statement that should share that as a country we want a society that has an ethos that, at the very least, demands from our leadership a strong sense of integrity and humility, competence, confidence, and trust. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. May tomorrow, usher in even more blessed day. May this one take you out in a safe manner with a sense of hope and wonderful expectation. And as you look, beyond the horizon, that you'll be willing to extend a hand to help others. Sometimes to pull them along, other times is to stand on your tiptoes and push them up so they can see the sunlight. And as they get there, they know that they're obligated to then reach down and help you as well. Don't forget sometimes to say, if you expect good, then you should do good. I would phrase it another way, but let's do that tomorrow. All right. Please join us again for all of our programming, and we invite you to continue to always listen to Radio Cayman. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.